we do now have the latest advisory, the 4 o'clock advisory from the National Hurricane Center. Winds still at 40 miles an hour. Very little change with the latest advisory here. Pressure is the same. Winds are the same. It is moving to the south. The last advisory was moving to the southwest. South is still generally lingering, really. And I would imagine that we're going to see the movement perhaps change a little bit, the trend of where the actual center is going. The fact that it's only moving around 3 miles an hour tells us that it's not in a hurry, at least not at this point. So one of the big factors, one of the big threats out of this will be heavy rain. Any storm that lingers, tropical in nature especially, and in particular, has the potential for dropping a lot of water in a hurry, which leads to the possibility of some life-threatening flash flooding. And this is what we're thinking, what the National Hurricane Center is thinking. The path of the storm, you can see the cone of uncertainty now into parts of the United States. But when you think about what the path is, the forecast for the center is to go right up the middle, but essentially you can think different points in time. They draw circles around it for where there has been past error. So you look at how well the forecast is done in the past, and you can see that there's some uncertainty with the forecast confidence inherent, and through time that gets bigger. And through time, by this weekend, it is barely north of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. So still a lot of uncertainty. And by the way, a third of the time, the center of the storm goes on the outside of the cone of uncertainty. So we're still looking at Florida possibly in play. And with that, so think of the center. If the center were to go into Pensacola, the heavy rain and wind would extend well beyond that. So this is why we're thinking, especially since it's the weekend, it's not the next day or two, it's the weekend, as it gets closer to the United States. I would be, heads up and paying close attention to this from South Florida to Brownsville, Texas. The entire Gulf Coast still could see something out of this. And when we look at the water temperatures, a tropical system needs about 80-degree water for it to really develop. Without that, it's going to be hard to develop. And we see that until it gets into the green. Now we're talking mid to upper 70s. It's close. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. The forecast models, again, eventually all taking it to the north. This is all, of course, subject to change. The European forecast model keeps it lingering here, even going onshore for a little while. And, of course, when you're onshore, you don't have access to the water, so it could weaken. But it does show it strengthening by early next week as it comes onshore. The GFS does a similar story with it north, meandering. Either way, you got to prepare, and we know that evacuating and recovery will be different this year, especially now with coronavirus.